Welcome to the Romance Podcast, and oh my goodness, do we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it has been a journey this past week.
A crazy week, specifically a crazy weekend.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people have dealt with some crazy travel stories.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be hard-pressed to find someone that has a crazier travel story than me and Kenzie and Roman.
Yes.
Let's set it up really fast because Kenzie's family reunion in Minnesota was planned about, 5 months ago?
At least, because we do our family reunion every other year. So every 2 years we have one.
Okay.
And so we always knew it would be this year, and it's always in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
This year we planned it around Tristan's baseball schedule. So we picked late July because he was supposed to be done early July. So I even allowed for a few buffer weeks in case there were makeup games and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, planned it around that. And yeah, we've had this locked in, I would say at a minimum 5 months, if not longer, on the calendar.
And your family and you obviously wanted Tristan to come with us this time because you guys do a photo shoot every other year and update the pictures, family pictures, really, really cool. And you guys really wanted Tristan to be part of the new photographs.
Well, right. So the last time we did this, I actually think it's been longer than
it has,
2 years.
Because of COVID, I think, right?
Not because of COVID, because of our wedding.
Our wedding.
So it should have been last year, but everyone was getting together at the wedding. Okay. It was an expensive travel year for everyone. So we decided to push it back 1 year. So it's been a little longer. So the last time we did the photos, Justin and I weren't even engaged.
Yeah.
And because it was even longer than that, it was like it was too long. There was too much space in between this one because of our engagement.
I think it's been like 4 years because we were
time.
brand new because
we were a brand new couple.
Tell them why we were new.
Yeah, so we'd only been together a few months but it was a family reunion and we were in a very serious relationship, even though it was early, but we weren't just like, messing around. Like we did very serious conversations, everything. So I wanted him to come to the family reunion because none of my family lives near each other. So when it comes to meeting my brothers, all that, everyone's in different states. They're all over the place. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, everyone's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I really wanted you to come because it's not going to be easy to meet a bunch of people in my family otherwise, right? It's not like, every Thanksgiving you can see everybody. That's not the case.
Right.
So we do this family reunion, he comes, but we've only been together a few months. So he was in a few of the pictures. They also made him go out of the few pictures because it was like, well, what if we break up or something? My parents want to be able to use these photos.
I felt really stupid. It must have been 5 years ago because honestly...
Well, I think we had a family reunion in there, but we don't do photos every time.
Okay, gotcha.
So we had one more family reunion, but there wasn't a photo shoot. Okay. That's every once the family changes a lot, it's like, let's update these.
Okay, right. So the pictures are 5 years old.
Yes.
Now you guys wanted Tristan. We're married, and Tristan is your stepson now.
Yeah.
So
I was just dating you before, so now it's of course, years later.
So you asked to have Tristan. I had to work it out with his mom because he's number with his mom on the weekends. She approved it. So all in all, 5 months ago, we committed to going to the family reunion in Minnesota and bringing Tristan with us for the pictures.
And I put the request in early because I knew we don't have the weekends. And listen, it is super important to me because I don't have control over schedule. Of course, I can't just be like, this is exactly what's happening, right? But I never, Tristan knows, I call him my child. I call him my son. I call him my first kid. He hears all those things. I don't want him to grow up and be like, oh, I was your kid, but I wasn't at the family reunion or in the picture. He needs to be part of those things. It's really important. It's really special. If you're going to say those things, he needs to be part of them. And I think it could actually, say it wasn't even my fault. Say we didn't get the weekend approved or something and it's not our date. That could still be hurtful when he's older. Right. And I'm very conscious of that. I want him to know how true it is that he is my kid and he is part of my family. My parents, they have 7 grandkids. They have a grandkids mantle. Tristan's on it. It's very, very important to him. And I love when he comes there and he sees that. And everyone's like, oh, our grandson, he's in the grandson pictures and this and that. And I just think it's so important. So it was a really, really big deal to me for Tristan to be part of that. Yes. Because I think it just solidifies how loved he is in the family.
Absolutely. So, it's not always easy because again, he's with his mom on the weekends, but worked it out. Tristan's coming with us to Minnesota. It was a done deal about 5 months ago. All right. About a month ago, the travel baseball tryouts for next year, the dates were posted. I did not have control over them. And wouldn't you know it, they were over the weekend, basically, of the weekend of her family reunion. So I'm at the pool with Tristan. He had some buddies. He was playing in the pool. I'm laying out. I get the email and I'm like, oh shit, of course the tryout dates have to be the same dates as the reunion. Now, if you checked out our episode a couple episodes ago, you realize that Kenzie hates travel baseball. It has been a big fight from us from the very beginning. I don't want to go into it again, but go back and listen to that episode. She does not like it. It has been a big problem in our relationship. So now I'm finding out that the tryouts for next year are during the family reunion. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I took about a half hour to kind of think of a plan. I came home. I told her, I go, hey, you're not going to like this, but I figured out how we're going to make this work. And so what I pitched to her, I said, listen, I'm going to drive you and Marino up to Minnesota on Thursday, July 18th. All three of us are going to go. We're going to stay overnight with your parents, the whole thing. We'll do whatever. I'm going to fly out first thing in the morning on Friday, July 19th to get back to Chicago, take Tristan to night number 2 of the travel baseball tryouts because it's a 2-night process. And then we're going to take the last flight out Friday night, July 19th, back to Minnesota. We're going to get there late, but no worries. I'll take an Uber, not going to bother anybody. And we'll be there in time for the photo shoot on Saturday at 10 a.m. What could go wrong? I even told you, like, listen, it's not like it's happening in January or February. There's not going to be a snowstorm, not going to be a winter storm.
Oh, yeah.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly happen?
And let's take a look at what happened on a historic day when it comes to airlines, Friday, July 19th. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't it be my luck that I'm trying to balance all these things, and it's the one day I need United Airlines to be on time, and that is not what happened because, spoiler alert, in case you didn't notice, it was the biggest IT software update outage of all time.
Hack, whatever the hell happened.
Worldwide, the worst of all time on Friday, July 19th.
That was great. That was awesome. It was very, very frustrating for many reasons because you have to realize, I told my family Tristan has baseball and we're gonna have to play. So when you already have there's a lot of people traveling in. It's not like everyone lives there. People are making travel plans, and when you already say, sorry, it has to be, after this. Earlier dates worked a lot better for people. And for other people to shift around for that, and then you go, oh, sorry, not going to work for you can't do that at all.
So, and I didn't. So I try to think of the best of both worlds because I am trying to be a great husband. I'm trying to be a great father to Tristan. So I had to do both things. He had to try out for next year's team. He couldn't miss it. Or I know some people have commented they also hold private tryouts. I want my son to have the best opportunity to make the team, and if he doesn't make it, it's because we gave it our all versus we only did one night versus 2 or private tryouts. I don't want to fudge in that stuff.
I will say full disclosure, you let him do one night last year,
and it was drama, and I don't want to get into it, but It was drama and it worked against him, and you know that, so don't bring it up. You know it worked against him.
I don't think so. I think it was because he had never been on the team before,
Right.
And this year he had been on the team.
Right.
I felt like he could do a full day of the tryouts and then maybe a private one for Friday or something.
And if he wouldn't have made it, I would have killed myself, knowing that I didn't give him the best chance possible. So I really listen, if he didn't make it because he was at both nights, I would have been okay with it. He tried his best, didn't work out. I'm not holding him back. I want to make sure, listen, I know you don't like travel baseball, but give me credit as a father, forget a husband, as a father, driving you guys up to Minnesota on Thursday, taking the first flight out on Friday to be here for Tristan, take him so we could take the last flight out back. I mean, that was a lot of traveling for me to make sure that he was good for both nights and to make sure I fulfilled my promise to you to get back in time for the family photo shoot.
No, I understand that. The only thing I don't like, because I wasn't nuts about the video that you posted because people wanted to chime in on it and I wasn't even part of the video. But the thing is I wasn't doing something selfish. Tristan was super excited and talked about the family reunion for weeks and was excited to be part of it. And we had all these fun things planned, like a wiffle ball tournament and this big photo shoot and the huge pool. So it's me not wanting him to miss that. It wasn't a day about me. It wasn't my birthday party.
I never said in the video that you weren't.
There was discussions. I don't even know, but there was discussions about.
Did you watch my video?
I didn't even watch the whole thing.
Okay, so then,
because I was dealing.
How you gonna make
So Justin had a crazy day, but I was also alone with a screaming baby for several days because of this insane travel, and it was a nightmare for all parties involved. A nightmare for all parties involved.
We haven't even talked about my crazy day, so this is what the whole podcast is about. So again. Friday, July 19th will go down in history as the worst IT software update outage of all time. It was in the world.
They're still working it out. There's still people stuck now.
Okay. So Friday morning, I'm flying back from Minnesota to Chicago to get back to my son for tryouts. Delayed for 4 hours in Minnesota. Not fun, not great, but I'm just going to speed it up here. We got out, okay? I got out.
And I will say, at that time, when you were waiting for that flight, I go, do you just want to call it? And do you want to cancel your flights, both of them, drive home right now, take the day, go to the tryouts, and either sleep till like 5 a.m. and then drive back to Minnesota, or drive right to the tryouts, go through the night, and sleep when you get here. So I would like to say I threw it out very early beforehand, and you did not take me up on it.
Actually, I'm glossing over something that was really funny that happened before that. So again,
oh my God, yes.
We wake up in the morning, and actually, you were still sleeping. I woke up in the morning, and no one knows anything. Like, we didn't know about any kind of like outage or any kind of problems, right?
We did not.
I left at 7 a.m. in Minnesota, and I drove. I have a Tesla, so I wanted to charge my car because I wasn't prepared to park at the airport. So I went to a Hy-Vee that has a Tesla supercharger, and they also have a Starbucks. Okay,
and you decided to save time, get Starbucks, breakfast while you were charging.
Yes. So I'm not a coffee guy, but I do like the chai tea lattes warm, and they have like chocolate croissants that are so good over there. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to Starbucks and I'll do my thing. So I did see a sign on the door at the Starbucks that says, due to software difficulties, the cafe is closed. Our drive-thru is open. And I thought nothing of it. I thought maybe this specific location is having computer problems.
Because he called me and we just thought Starbucks had a weird security cyber issue.
Yeah. Like, all right, whatever. Like the Starbucks in Oakdale, Minnesota had a problem. No big deal. I'm not thinking global, right? So here's my dumbass. I really want this chai tea latte and the croissant.
But your car is charging.
My car is charging back at the Hy-Vee. I'm standing in the drive-through line.
Cars in front of you and behind you.
Yes. And so there's this random dude, me, standing, and there's a car in front of me and behind me, and they go and they go and they go. I get to the speaker, like where the menu is, and they're not acknowledging me as a pedestrian. So I was like, well, I'm gonna walk up to the window. So I walk up to the window. Mind you, everyone probably thinks I'm crazy because
I can't imagine how many like Instagram stories you're on, and like you were probably posted to me. But I can't believe you didn't take a selfie in that line.
Oh God! So
it would have been hilarious.
I go up to the window. I'm like, hey, I see that your cafe is closed. I really want a chai tea latte and a croissant. Like, how can I order this? And they're like, you know what? You come on inside. They're really cool. Like, come on inside. But I felt really dumb on the drive-thru as a pedestrian, but they did let me come in. I ordered my stuff. I drank it. I ate it, and I'm off. Right? Again, not thinking about anything. I think I called you and I told you how weird that was.
We were laughing about it.
So we are laughing. We weren't laughing a couple hours later.
No, we were not.
Because my flight to Chicago was delayed for 4 hours again, but it went off. So I take off. I land in Chicago. Then we're stuck on the runway for an hour. Okay, on the runway, not at the gate, on the runway for an hour because our gate. Now I'm finding out like, oh, this is a bigger problem, right?
Yeah.
So
back up. Everything's backed up.
And then you're like, are you worried about your nighttime flight? I'm like, no, they're gonna figure this out. Like I have a 9:40 p.m. flight. Like I'm good. Like
you're like, I have this all ironed out by then.
And if you know anything about me and my wife, she always says I kind of have a horseshoe up my ass because things always work out for me.
The genuinely most obnoxious thing in the entire world.
I don't worry about stuff. Things always work out.
Yeah.
I don't stress. Like it's all to the good. So I'm like, no, we're gonna be fine. It's 9:40 right now. I landed probably around 3 o'clock. I'm like, they will have it figured out. So I'm stuck on the runway. I Uber home. I don't get home until about 4:40 p.m. I left at 7 a.m. I got home back to Chicago at 4:40 at my house at 4:40 p.m. I got to take Tristan at 5 p.m. for his tryout. So 20 minutes at home. All right, whatever. Get him to the tryout. He's all good. I packed for 20 minutes, all to the good. Now, Tristan and I have a 9:40 p.m. flight back to Minnesota. And I'm like, please, for the love of God, let this flight take off because otherwise I'm going to have to deal with this one over here. And I did not want to deal with that, okay?
First off, this one over here had the best idea early in the morning that would have avoided all of these issues for you. All of them.
Right.
This one.
As we're about ready to go to the airport, I do get word via the app that the flight has been delayed for 2 hours out the gate, right? So 9:40 turns into 11:40, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. But you know what? If it takes off at 11:40, I still get to Minnesota. So we get to the airport, all to the good. We get delayed. Now it's pushed over to 1:10 a.m. Now it's pushed to 2:30 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
I'm with my 10-year-old son too. This is not fun for either one of us, right? So all right, what do we do here? All right, well, we're just going to wait it out, right? So then we get a glimmer of hope because
mind you, his car is also in Minneapolis. He drove to the airport. So it's not even like, let's hop in his car. And I suppose he could Uber home and drive my car. Now we have 2 cars in Minnesota and we have to do both of those.
Yeah, so I'm praying to the good Lord upstairs. I'm like, come on, please let this flight take off. I don't care. If it takes off at 2:30 in the morning, I don't care. I still get to Minnesota. I'll deal with no sleep. It's all good. No problem. So anyways, all right. So we get a little glimmer of hope because the 2:30 a.m. departure turns into midnight. We get a push notification that says, hey, your flight, we fixed it. Midnight, you guys taking off. I'm like, this is awesome. All to the good.
Yeah, updates me. You won't believe this. They bumped it up. Everything's good. And then you're like, our plane is here. Remember you told me that? Like,
I saw
our plane's here. Like, we're good. The plane that they were supposed to be on is there.
I saw the plane through the windows. Like, all to the good. All right, cool. No, now it's pushed back to 110, pushed back to 140, pushed back to 230. I'm not feeling good about this whatsoever. A bunch of us are talking in the gate terminal, I should say, and we're like, oh, there's a flight over there that we could jump on that, they're also delayed, but maybe they get off. So there were 2 flights throughout the night that were still going to Minnesota. They kept getting pushed back. And long story short, both flights ended up being canceled.
And so I went to bed around midnight because I had the baby and like I was exhausted and I knew that the baby was going to get up super early in the morning. So I couldn't wait up till 3 when they got there. My dad was waiting up till that time because he was driving the airport. Full disclosure, my brother was also flying in and they were on like a 4-hour delay with little kids. Yeah. Okay, that was tough for them. So I knew he was going to the airport already and everything. So I'm like, he'll be awake at least when you land, right? And all that. So I go to bed. And I wake up at like 3 in the morning and nothing, no text, no husband, no 10-year-old son. I'm like, where are you? And you text me and go, just crawled into bed. Is what you text me back.
No, I said you go to bed.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, you were delirious.
So tired.
I said, go to bed. I'm going to figure it out, is what I said. Because once both flights got canceled, a little part of me died that moment because I knew that you were going to be pissed if I didn't get there by 10 a.m. for the family photo shoot.
And full disclosure, because of all this going on, I had to convince my mom to reach out to the photographer and see if they could schedule it for Sunday.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, even if they make it here and they make it here at 4 in the morning, to have everyone ready for a photo shoot by 10 is going to be ass. Okay. Yeah. So I did, as being supportive and thinking about you guys as much as I could, I was like, can we just change it whether they get here or not? And thank God we changed it because you wouldn't have even been there. I know. Would have been bad. So I was like thinking ahead, like even if they make it here, it's going to be miserable.
All right. So
I got it changed.
Mind you, it is 2:30 in the morning right now at O'Hare Airport. I'm with my 10-year-old. He was a trooper. He was so good the whole time. I was like a baby. I was so mad. I had so many emotions going on, but anyways, whatever. So you get to know people around your gate, because everyone's like, oh, what'd you hear? So I got to know a couple people. In particular, I got to know this woman who came from Boston, and this is actually a very nice story. She was flying to Minneapolis to go pick up her grandfather who is in a wheelchair to fly back with him to Indianapolis to go see the Indianapolis 400. It's a car race. I guess his dream was to go to a car race. He's never seen one before in his life. So like she literally from Boston was supposed to go to Minneapolis. She got diverted to Chicago. It all gets canceled. She's freaking out because her flight from Minneapolis leaves at 1 p.m. on Saturday to get them back to Indianapolis for her grandfather's like dream race, right? So you get to know that story. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So she realized like I gave her my story of like, well, we have the family reunion and the baseball tryout, like the whole thing. It's like, it kind of humanizes people of like why they need these flights to happen, right? So, all right, flight gets canceled. I have a couple options. One is I can Uber back to our suburban house and pick up your Jeep and then drive to Minnesota, your Jeep, which would have been okay. But the problem is now then on Monday, as we're coming home, we have 2 cars to drive back to Chicago. You're driving and I'm driving. One of us with the baby by ourselves. Not ideal. Yeah. That was something that I really, really, really didn't want to do.
And that's hard with the baby because like even like I kind of sat in the back on the way home in the car, and it's like when they're in the car for that long, you have to entertain them. You have to have stuff. It's kind of mean to leave that, like, for them to be in the back for 7 hours by themselves. That's really, really tough.
That was my last resort. I did not want to do that. That would have been very, very tough. And mind you, all flights on Saturday were booked and or wouldn't get me home early enough for her reunion. So flying was no longer an option. I knew I had to drive. The other option was, okay, I could rent a car and then drive to Minnesota, drop my car off at the Minnesota airport, and then at least we only have one car to come back on Monday from Minnesota, right? So get to talking. Some people are starting to have you ever seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I literally, first off, that needs to be the name of this episode.
Okay,
I've thought about that.
It will.
And that's what I thought of this whole time. Like, this is just a nightmare. And you showed up just like disheveled.
Yeah. This was the real life Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yes.
So people are starting to talk at the gate and everything about what they're all going to do and everything. And
because people have places they have to go. Like, this isn't optional for some people, you know?
So some people were starting to partner up because also, by the way, rent-a-cars were going super quick. There weren't a lot of rent-a-cars available either.
As you can imagine, because hundreds of flights are getting canceled and people have to get places.
Yes. So a bunch of people are partnering up and everything. And me and Tristan walk away. I was just going to Uber home and take your Jeep is what I was going to do. We actually walked away from the gate and then a light bulb went off and I was like, actually, I know that one woman has to get to Minneapolis and she's going to rent a car. Well, if we split the cost of the car.
Because just a full disclosure, it was $300 for a 1-day rental car, supply and demand. This is why people were partnering up because they were also spiking the cost of cars.
Yeah.
Like people are spending $500 on a rental car for a day just to get to your location. This is more expensive than the flight.
For 6 hours, actually.
Yes, literally.
So I stop in my tracks. I go, Tristan, let's go back here. I thought, what if I partnered up with this woman and we could split the car. I have no problem driving. And then ultimately I wouldn't have a car in Minnesota. My car's already there. We wouldn't have 2 cars in Minnesota. It kind of worked out for everybody. So I go back to the gate, can't find her anywhere. I'm like, oh, okay, it sucks. But then I did see her. She was kind of already looking for cars and she made an office in the other gate. So me and Tristan go up to her and I'm like, listen, this might sound kind of weird, but we need to rent a car. I think you do as well. Would you mind splitting it? And then I'll be happy to drive the whole time. And then that way I don't have 2 cars in Minnesota. She goes, oh my God, thank you. Because I was just telling my husband that I don't think I could last. I don't think I could stay awake the whole time because I'm known to fall asleep at times instantly. And she's like, he was so worried about me. I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll drive the whole time. I don't care. But we could split a car, right? So that's great. In theory, it's great. The problem was no rent-a-car places open until 5 a.m. at O'Hare. It's 2:30 in the morning. So,
which, by the way, is insanity.
It's stupid.
It's insanity that not one of the companies there,
Yeah.
Alamo, Hertz, what Enterprise, isn't 24 hours.
I know.
Flights land all hours of the night, especially even if they are not normally like that, knowing the outage that was happening that day, how they weren't let's throw people on 24 hours today. Listen, in fair shifts, I'm not saying somebody should have worked 24 hours, but let's throw in a few more 8-hour shifts here and get people through. Yeah,
for sure. So ultimately, again, it's 3 a.m. I'm like, all right, so she can't, on her computer, she can't rent the car, but she can find out that it opens at 5 a.m. So I go on my Hertz app. I guess I'm a rewards member from back in the day.
Of course you are.
From when I was
You're a rewards member of everything that's ever existed. You have a punch card or an app, you have it.
Well, it worked out because I was actually able to get a car for 5 a.m. So I reserved it, boom, boom, boom. Now a bunch of us have to stay at O'Hare until it opens at 5 a.m. So we go down to the rent-a-car place, in that lobby over there. It's a whole different center. And a bunch of us are hanging out and trying to sleep, but it's so uncomfortable. Full disclosure, there's some homeless people there as well. It wasn't great situation for any of us, including my 10-year-old son.
Including the homeless people. They're probably you know what? We normally sleep here.
Yeah, true. I took somebody's bed. I felt very uneasy about the whole thing, but I had no other choice, right? So whatever. I didn't get any sleep. Tristan did fall asleep. I will say, God bless that kid. He makes the best out of everything. And the woman who we were going to share with, she goes, hey, try to stay here and get some sleep with your son. I'm going to go wait in line at 4 a.m. at Hertz because I have a feeling there's going to be a long line once it gets closer to 5. I'm like, all right, I never thought of that. Well, fast forward to 5 a.m., there's a line a mile long outside the rent-a-car center. She was right. Literally people were lined up like crazy trying to get a car. We were first in line. Okay. Mm-hmm. So anyways, we get the car, we take off at 5:15 a.m. I want to say, and we are cruising. All right. Mm-hmm. Now listen, everything in theory is okay, right? I figured out something that was going to work. The problem I had in my head was, how am I going to tell Kenzie that I'm splitting a car with a woman? Because if you know,
you didn't even ask me, which pisses me off.
it was 3 a.m.
I was awake and texting you.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
I texted
No.
your ass.
It was 3 a.m, and I had to make an executive decision whether I should bring 2 cars to Minnesota or split a rental car with somebody, even though she was a female, and only have 1 car. So I made an executive decision, and I did that. But as I'm driving down to Minnesota, I'm like, okay, when do I tell her and how do I tell her? Because she's not going to take the news easy. True or false?
It was annoying because, like, I don't know why you didn't just rent a car. Like, she wasn't, like, outside, like, please, sir, help me. Like, you went and sought her out. Like, you could have just rented one.
No, but they were expensive, and we split the cost.
You already know that we're gonna report it to the airline because it's really their fault. There's a lot of legal things that you have the right to, and because they put us in this
I didn't know that
position,
at the time. I mean, like, I've seen TikToks since then, but at the time, I didn't know.
I would have absolutely reported it. So I guess I could understand if she was waiting in line with you, like everyone's in line, and the car stopped at you, and she was like, can you please, like, I'm not gonna get there. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't really understand why you didn't just go get a car. Like, she didn't even. I think that's weird.
Here's sometimes what good deeds do for people. Okay, so she needed help, I needed help. We split the cost of the rent a car, and it helped me out a lot by not having 2 cars in Minnesota, and it helped her out a lot for not having to drive. And by doing a good deed, she surprised me, and she actually paid for the entire car and all the gas, which was very, very nice of her. She said, thank you so much for like saving me, because even my husband knows I fall asleep. So like, it was a very nice gesture that she did because I did a nice gesture. There are nice people in this world.
Full disclosure, Justin also told me there was tons of people, like couples there.
There were.
He's like, but he went and picked the single girl.
She wasn't single. She was married with 2 kids. But I will say,
single alone there.
Here's what I didn't want, and this is fine. Call it sexist if you want. I'm not gonna have some dude in the back seat with Tristan, or anybody for that matter. She was one person, so she could sit shotgun. Tristan could sleep in the back. A lot of people were couples. A lot of like married couples were splitting with other people. So I didn't want a full car and anybody sitting in the back with Tristan.
You could have put Tristan in front with
you.
No,
I didn't want to do that.
Why?
Overnight? Like, no, I don't like him being in the front seat as it is, but overnight, hard no. Anyways, listen, here's the deal. I knew you weren't going to like it, but you did like the fact that on Monday, we drove back in 1 car versus 2 cars. And you did like the fact that she surprised me and did pay for the entire rental car and all of our gas. That was very, very cool. So you like those things. You just wish that she had a penis.
I mean, I just know you, and it's not a surprise to me that you found a girl by herself and then tried to ride with her.
I tried to ride.
Yes.
See how she spins it?
She didn't. You hadn't found her. I'm not. You think I'm dumb? Like, you really think I'm dumb?
Right. Okay. Anyway, so it was a nightmare. The entire weekend, from a travel standpoint, was a nightmare. I know I wasn't the only person affected. I understand that, but man, I feel like it's gonna be hard to find a story that's worse than the story that I had, having to juggle.
Oh, and just so you know, so he got there around noon the next day. Because I couldn't believe that he was going back to the Minneapolis airport. I'm like, why don't you just drive here? Because you have to pass my parents' house. Yeah. I'm like, let's just get your car later. Like, let's just come
I had
here.
to hand in the rental car.
Yeah, but I didn't know how long you had rented it for. Like, sometimes they have like 24 hours. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't just necessarily do 6 hours, right? So like, maybe we'll just drive back late at night with my dad. Like, just get here, because people were like, it was the family reunion, like the cookout and the pool. Like, I'm like, just get here. Well, I didn't know there was another girl in your car that had to get to the Minneapolis airport. So that's fucking why you didn't come to my parents' house for the family reunion. You were even later.
No, I had to drop her off to see her grandpa in a wheelchair because they were flying at 1 o'clock. I dropped her off probably at like 11:45. Barely made that flight for her grandfather. But then I had to drop the car off at the airport. That's where the rent-a-car center was. Mm-hmm. And I had to pick up my car, which is also at the Minnesota airport. Like, it all checks out, Mackenzie. Like, be Inspector Gadget all you want. It all checks out.
Because we got a Zelle from her, so then I went and looked her up on Facebook.
Yeah, that's my girl.
I found her name.
That's my girl. Because
I wanted to make sure that you weren't lying, that she was actually married and stuff.
Is she married?
I think so.
Okay, with 2 kids?
I don't know. I didn't see any kids.
Okay,
we'll talk about it later.
Good things happen to good people. I think it helped her out. It definitely helped me out. And all in all, it was a lot of drama for me. But Tristan, spoiler alert, he made his travel team. We got the word yesterday, so it was worth it for Tristan. He put his best foot forward and he made the team. I'm very, very happy. We made it for the family photo shoot. Pictures are great, I believe.
Oh, I am really happy. So I think this happens a lot as a woman, but it's very rare that I'm ready and then both the kids are ready and then you're able to take a picture of me. One of the only things I wanted on Mother's Day was a picture with me, Tristan, and Marino, because I don't have one. I maybe have a group shot or whatever, but I didn't have one. And I wanted one so bad. And it didn't happen because Tristan had baseball. And then by the time he was done with baseball, the baby was losing it because he was supposed to go to bed. Right. And then my hair and makeup, and I was like, okay. So I never, ever got one. So excited to do a picture of me with the two boys. I was excited for you to get professional pictures of you with both the boys. Couple shots, both the boys together. There's some amazing pictures of Tristan with Marino. Like, I was so happy to have all those. Spoiler alert, Tristan also had a blast at the family reunion and swam for, 12 hours straight probably. We had so much fun.
There's a misconception of you. Did I ever say he wasn't excited about this or wasn't looking forward to it?
No, I just feel like it turned into, which bums me out because this was like so much so about Tristan being included and him having fun. He was very excited about this. And for some reason, there was like a whole thing of like, oh, I have to make you happy and make Tristan happy. But he also wanted to be like, I wanted him at this also, like, so he was included and to be happy. It wasn't like this is fun for me. It's a me day. Like, that's not what it was.
Yeah, but you're being very defensive. I was saying I have two hats in this situation. I had to be a great dad to Tristan, and I had to be a great husband to you. I was taking care of both promises I made. I wanted him to be able to try out both days, like most of the boys do, and I wanted to make sure we were back in time for your family reunion. I feel really good in this moment that all things happened. I feel like it was a real life planes, trains, and automobiles. It really was. And I feel good that here we are on the week after, and literally everything worked out. Like, it was a hell travel day and night for me and Tristan, but you know what? At the end of the day, everybody got what they wanted. I just had to deal with one night of no sleep. I mean, zero sleep, by the way, like 0 hours of sleep. But I dealt with it, and look, I'm glad that I'm the only one that was affected in that way. Everybody else had a great experience, and everyone else, their promises I kept all their promises. So I do feel good in this moment. It was a fun weekend for sure.
Yes.
That night and day was kind of hell for me, but it was worth it because he made the team, and you got your pictures, and we all got to spend time as a family, and all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
What?
No, we're still disheveled from the whole thing. It was a lot.
It was. I mean,
I had a lot of anxiety. I felt like people were just staring at me like, so they're going to be here? I'm like, I don't know. You know when you can't control anything and you're just waiting? I'm like, I felt sweaty. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be here. Please stop looking at me. I'm not sure. I hope they're here. I'm sorry.
So the whole like things always work out for Roman. It was put to the test, and it did not work out on Friday, July 19th.
And what did we learn? If you just would have listened to me from the very beginning, because I'm always right, this would have all been so much easier.
If I would have listened to you, Tristan wouldn't have even tried out for the baseball team.
That's not true.
And we would have all gone on Thursday.
That's a lie, because we planned the whole family reunion around baseball, so don't even play with me.
Before the tryouts were announced.
But what would have happened is you would have just decided to cancel both those flights when I suggested it, zipped it out. And it's okay. Now you know the next time I suggest something that I'm probably right.
Interesting.
And like, you can feel good about that.
Interesting. The last layer of this is now I finally get to Minnesota, and I get to her parents' house, and there's a big family, and I need to tell her that I shared the car with somebody, but I don't want to do it in front of her, like her parents, and in front of like her. So I'm like, and you don't understand, like, Kenzie is not the easiest person to talk to when there's something I know she's not gonna like.
That's not true. I'm so nice, and you act like, was I a problem?
You already Facebooked her.
So. I didn't yell at you though.
Yeah, you. So I told her in the pool. So he's an
ass. I've had the baby by myself for 2 days. I'm exhausted. I was waking up all night with him. Don't touch me. I'm exhausted. They're finally there. I have to reschedule the photo shoot because you have to. I know they're going through travel hell, and I totally get that. And I was appreciative, and I was there for them, and I was trying to be like, do you want to just drive? Do you want to? I was throwing out a million suggestions. Okay.
Yeah.
I was also dealing with trying to reschedule a photo shoot, a baby by myself. Like, there was a lot happening on my end too. And I didn't say anything to you because I didn't want to put anything on your plate. There's nothing you could do about it. Mm-hmm. But I was alone with that. And then it's finally like, okay, you're here. okay, maybe baby was probably having a nap for 30 seconds, which is great. And then you're like, oh, by the way, I just drove up here with a girl.
A married woman who has 2 kids.
Whatever.
So, again, it's one of those things where like, listen, it would have been much easier and better if I just didn't tell you, but I'm not that kind of guy. I want to be transparent.
I would have found out.
I want to be transparent, and but there's no easy and
Can
good
I ask you
time
something?
to tell you
Can
that.
I ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
If this happened to me and I got stuck, and then you found out that I carpooled with a guy,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't have cared.
I would have thought it was very stupid. I would have been mad at you. Here's where the sexism.
See?
Here's where the sexism comes in. You with a stranger who's a male.
What if it was a
is
stranger
not
with a kid?
Safe. It's not safe as a male. Just as, to be honest, listen, I feel like I'm a pretty tough guy. I wasn't going to share a ride with a male either because you just never know. Like, I don't know, like a freaking psychopath or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was fairly positive she was not a psychopath who was going to kill us. And if she was, I was pretty sure I could have taken her. So there's where, yes, I'm being sexist, but I'm being real. I would not have wanted you to share a car
You would have been
with
mad.
a man
But if I showed
for
up,
safety concerns.
let's literally copy and paste second scenario.
Mm-hmm.
If I showed up and told you that and I was making it to your family reunion, whatever, you would have been mad.
I would have said, babe, thank you so much for thinking of me first and really trying to
No, you
like
wouldn't.
make
No.
my life and our experience better. You are a very selfless human being, and I'm so lucky to be with you. That's what I would have said.
That's not what you
That's what I would have said.
And you know it.
And I wish you would tell me that.
No.
Well, there's our weekend wrap up. We're going to call it Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, right?
It's a disaster.
It was
this whole thing. I got back and I had to be on the radio the next day and I go, I need a day off. Like, you don't understand. Because then we had a road trip. After all that, we still had one road trip left with a baby. And I'm like, I literally, like, I need to call in a mental health day.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I didn't, which was, I just should have. I need a break.
You had 2 road trips to Minnesota. I had 3.
I know.
I had 3 in a matter of, 72 hours.
I know.
Whatever. It was all good. He made a team, made my wife happy. We had a great weekend, and we're still married.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to our travel nightmare story. And I feel like we're better because of it. I really do.
Well, we're so strong.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys weren't affected like we were when it came to this horrible IT nightmare. But I don't know. It is what it is. You know what? Like, I feel like I jinxed it by saying my initial pitch to you when I said, what's the worst that could happen? It's not January. It's not February.
And
it's not going to snow.
I have bad luck, so I'm like, a lot could happen wrong because that's like everything bad happens to me.
Nobody, and I mean nobody, could have seen this coming though. I mean, who would have thought on July 19th,
Who would have thunk it?
the airlines would have shut down? Well,
Yeah.
whatever. It is. We're all healthy. We're all happy. We can laugh about it now.
We are laughing.
So funny. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, you can't spell romance without Roman. Right, baby? Right,
Oh, yeah.
baby?
Full of romance.